See friends.
No longer grows friends with Liz Equipment Issue Support Corporation.
Jackson Humphreys was last.
Okay. So we all want to welcome our new city manager. We are really tickled. I did want to point out that we get the weather that Baltimore gets, but we get it a day earlier. So it just works better. And then we pass it on to you guys after we've used it up.
Thanks a lot.
But it was fun today to read about all the different things you're interested in. I mean, you like numbers, you really want to see the real picture, you want to know what's going on, and you obviously like what you're doing. You like bonds, which I also am thinking we need to like. So we've got all these people who come from a variety of community organizations who will, I'm sure, be glad to ask you questions and throw you ideas. So you can just talk and tell us, and we'll just have a conversation back and forth.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and some of the things that we're going to be working on. If it's okay, I'm just going to remain seated, if that's okay with you. Tell you a little bit about myself, what my plans are in terms of city government, and then just take some questions from you and hopefully have some good answers for you. I have just started month number 3. Although it feels like it's yesterday, actually, things have been quite busy, as you can imagine. Thank you for the invitation to come. I'm trying to get out as much as possible, to meet as many people, spend time with as many organizations as I can to learn more about the city. Came here from Baltimore. I was the chief financial officer for the city of Baltimore. Another city full of neighborhoods, although, both cities are different in that regard. One of the things that I've noticed here that has impressed me is that obviously we have 52 neighborhoods, but, I've not really been in a city where you have so many neighborhoods that are thriving and that are vibrant. Generally, you just have a handful. Here you've got quite a few. So to me, that represents a significant asset that we can work with. And the community organization structure that I've been observing here in Cincinnati lends itself to being a very, very viable and valuable network in terms of getting things done. I'm married. I have two children. A son who's a sophomore in college, and my daughter is in the 7th grade. And, I believe she's looking forward to coming at the first of the year. But so far so good. As we know, everything happens at the local level. If you're in Washington, I've spent time working in Washington in terms of federal government types of stuff. You're insulated. You can make decisions or not make decisions, and there are no repercussions, really. I mean, there may be repercussions in terms of elections, but from a bureaucratic standpoint, it's the same thing over and over again, even a lot of times at the state level. But at the local level, that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where things really get done, if they're going to get done. So I just want you to understand that organizations such as this one and all of the entities that are a part of this network are a major resource to the city. It's great to be city manager for the city of Cincinnati. Cincinnati has a long history in terms of the city management form of government. Although I've not spent any time in Cincinnati prior to becoming city manager, I'm very well aware of its history. And one of my mentors is a former city manager, Cy Murray.
One of my favorites.
He's been a mentor for at least about 20 years for me. So I've learned a lot about Cincinnati through him and just sort of following his story. My management style is an open door policy. I try to make myself as accessible as I can be, probably sometimes too much, in terms of, stretching the limits of our, human anatomy in terms of not wearing myself too thin. But I think open communications, frequent communications is very critical. You call me, send me an email, stop by the office. As I said, I've been trying to make it to as many community organization meetings as I possibly can, because it's critical for me to really understand what the issues and concerns are, as well as to meet the people and learn about the Cincinnati culture. I believe Cincinnati has hit critical mass. What I mean by that is, obviously we've got significant development going on downtown. We've got significant development going on in over the Rhine, as well as in other pockets. So, and there's a lot more in the pipeline. So the key is, how do we make certain that that critical mass and that development activity begin to sort of cascade into the outer rings of the city? And I think that that's going to happen. It could very well be happening, but it's in its very infancy phase of things. So I think there's tremendous promise, critical mass, and so what we need to do as a result of that is to make sure that we're pushing it to help it along in ways that we can from a creativity standpoint and innovative standpoint. So there's tremendous upswing for the city. This is a great time for me to be here because, like I said, I see some very significant positive momentum. And obviously, we want to make certain that that prosperity and that good fortune is sort of spread out to as much of the city as possible. You know, obviously, the banks downtown, you know, that sort of hit critical mass a little while ago. Clearly, we can see the critical mass that's taking place in over the Rhine. But now we want to sort of also look at ways to share that growth and development with respect to other corridors of the city. Clearly, fiscal stewardship is critical. You know, we have to have a well-maintained city government. What I tell people is that if the city government is operating at a high level of performance, if the city is fiscally responsible and fiscally sound, then that helps out with overall development, be it you know, big development, corporate relocations, big development projects, or small projects that might be in neighborhoods. People are going to want to invest in a winner. If people within Cincinnati and people outside of Cincinnati believe that we have a very solid, effective, high-performing local government, they're going to want to be a part of that. So that's going to be a big part of my focus as well, making certain that the government is operating at as high a level as possible from a day-to-day perspective in terms of the services we provide, the accountability and transparency that we do it in. Cincinnati has a long history of having a solid financial reputation, positive one. We want to build on that. What I tell people a lot is, I use a sports analogy. You know, I think Cincinnati is, and this is not to reflect on the current baseball team, but this is just a generic sports analogy. I think Cincinnati is good enough to make it to the playoffs on a consistent basis, but the key is we want to get to the point where we can make it to the World Series on a consistent basis. But that's just going to take some time and some effort on our part to do some of the things that we know we need to do. The city has a solid bond rating. We're going to try to see if we can improve upon that, but you know, it has a solid AA bond rating, which for any urban city, I don't think we can really do much better than that. We can probably get into a AA plus level, but anything beyond that, I just don't think it's realistic because, you know, if we're doing what we should be doing as a city government, you know, you get AAA bond ratings because you really don't spend any money. So that's not realistic. That's not realistic. So two key things that I will be pushing. Two key things that I will be pushing will be, we've just launched a new office for the city, an Office of Performance and Data Analytics. We've just hired our first Chief Performance Officer for the city. And I hope that that sends a statement and a message to folks. It's about accountability. It's about being able to measure everything we do. If we spend $1 on something, we want to know exactly, okay, what are we getting for that dollar? Or do we want to spend that dollar in a different way to get a better result? So that office will be charged with doing three things, basically. One will be designing, developing, and implementing performance management agreements with each department head. Everything will be tied back to the budget. It'll be about outcomes, priority goals, results, etc. Will be one of the primary ways in which I will be able to hold department heads accountable. The second piece will be an innovation laboratory. In essence, clearly focusing in on, initially focusing in on transactional related processes. Anything of a process nature that touches the public. We want to take a look at, we want to examine it, we want to see how we can streamline processes, how we can make them more customer service friendly and more effective, and some other things. Another large piece that we will be looking at is, as I said, Cincinnati is fiscally sound, but how do you get from consistently making it to the playoffs to consistently making it to the World Series? I think we need a long-term strategic financial plan that is not necessarily, something that's going to look pretty and sit on the shelf, but something that would, in essence, serve as a business plan for the city as it relates to where we want to go as a city. Obviously, public safety is always got to be at the top of the list right now. The city is down in all major crime categories. Obviously, there are some other things that we still need to focus in on, but the key there is to make certain that we continue those trends. And that's a combination of paying attention to the police department, as well as paying attention to community relationships, and making certain that we maintain what I think is a best practices example in terms of the city of Cincinnati with respect to public safety and community partnerships and collaborations. That's a big thing. It's a priority for me. And I can't take credit for what's happening here, but I can certainly continue to support it with the full effort and attention of the city manager's office. Having said that, that's pretty much my initial message, and I'd be more than glad to take some questions if you have some. And thank you for having me. Yes, sir.
I have a specific question.
Yeah.
I did a survey for Obama for a paper that was being submitted to all businesses in the community, right? And it is 99.5% Caucasian, no franchises, period, for African people whatsoever in the city. When I walk down the street, I see an economic genocide. I'm saying, as you being the new business manager, will you represent the people in this community like you represent this community? I'm just asking.
Oh, yeah, no. That's a good question. First of all, as city manager, I'm the city manager for the city of Cincinnati. I'm the city manager for everyone who lives here, works here, or may have fun here. So that's how I view the position. In terms of economic opportunity, what is underway right now is somewhat unprecedented here in Cincinnati. This mayor is 125% committed to doing things that are of an inclusionary nature as it relates to economic prosperity, business opportunities, etc. For this job, when I was going through the recruitment process, I think I went through at least, and this is no exaggeration, at least 30 to 35 separate interviews. Okay, I think at least 100 people touched me in one form or fashion, either one-on-one, 1-on-3, 1-on-10, and even in some cases 1-on-20. Okay, but through every single meeting that I had with the mayor and conversation, it always started and finished with his economic inclusion initiative, which is underway right now. So in terms of him making it very clear to me that this is clearly one of his